Hello everyone, this is Shamsi and today we're starting the serialized version of our guide to starting out in a strong manner in Dual Universe. The purpose of the guide is to take you as a new player from your initial login into the game to what I call a snowball point, from which we're able to build any other industry item we want in the game, and from there any other item we want in the game. We're going to divide each guide into several topics. Today we're going to talk about several issues before you log in, what to do once you've logged in, getting to the tutorials and skipping them for the rewards, or potentially going through them if it's your first time running through the game, and several things we need to do in the market in order to get our speeder up to scratch to serve our purposes. So, without further ado, let's get into the first topic of today's video, your first few steps in the game. And the first thing to talk about is your initial load time. The game uses something called a cache, which can, the figure I've heard is be anywhere up to like 8 gigabytes, to render the voxels in the game around you. So everything in the game around you, including all NPC buildings, are made from the same voxel technology, and that is all put into a file. You select where that file goes when you install the game. I strongly suggest installing to an SSD to help your performance. But the first time you load into the game, it's going to take quite some time. I think my first time loading in was something like 15 minutes. That's because the game is building its cache for the first time. Also, if the game ever bugs on the client end and you want to get rid of the bug, you can close out the game, delete your cache, reload the game. The load will take a little bit longer, but it rebuilds the cache and therefore reloads all the items around you. The other thing to note before we start is that the frame rate and the lag in the initial zones where you first start the game can be horrendous. Remember, everything in the game is made by the same voxel technology as everything else. It's either an element or a voxel, and there's a lot for your computer to load, especially in the hubs of the game where the markets are, where players bring unnecessarily enormous ships to park on this small landing pad. And so you find enormous ships that your computer has to render, all of the NPC buildings and items that it has to render, all of the hundreds of other smaller shuttles and ships that players are coming into the market with. And so the frame rates and the lag and the glitches and the bugs in the initial areas are quite bad. But we're going to try and power through them because there are several things that we need to do in the hub before leaving. Once we leave the hubs and go out into the game world proper, the frame rate will stabilize and the lag issues will hopefully clear up. So we've installed the game, made our character, loaded in, and this is what we see. Let's go through what we're going to do as our first steps, having loaded into the game. If I hit Shift and Backspace, I'm going to skip the tutorial. If this is the first time running through the game, I would recommend running the tutorial. But if you don't want to, there are 4 dispensers that Ophelia, your AI assistant or overlord here, will send you to. One of which contains something called a sanctuary territory unit, which is the only way possible for you to ever own land on the sanctuary moon. And it also gives you your parts for a speeder bike. Now, we're not going to use the blueprint of that, but we are going to use the parts. So it is very important that you follow Ophelia's guidance and go to each of those dispensers. Right, so Ophelia has marked 4 waypoints for us to go to in order to collect items that you would normally receive through the tutorial. Now this is going to get very laggy and choppy, and the FPS is going to suffer greatly from time to time. But please
now
do bear with
to
it.
the second dispenser.
It is critically important. Wow. Now the game here is going to get very glitchy, very laggy. That's okay. We are going to
now
bear
proceed
with
to the
it.
third dispenser, following the green waypoint.
And we're going to try and struggle through for a very important reason. As you can see here, we are accumulating 6 skill points per minute. Those are being added to this pool here, which is you're free to spend on whatever skill you want skill point tree. Now we obviously don't want to be collecting 6 a minute, and when you add a skill um, into your skill tree, for instance, we're going to start here with nano pack upgrade, 3 of them, and primary container, 3 of them. It adds about 12 hours of real lifetime training into our queue. Those are similar to EVE Online, real life skills that train over months. The figure I've heard given is 7 years for every skill in this window. So when the game in its current beta state says that it costs $7 per month, which you can buy in a minimum of 3 monthly intervals, to my mind that's slightly inaccurate, given that if I want to, for instance, mine ores and build things with my industry efficiently, I'll need 2 separate characters, because it simply takes too long at the start of the game to train everything on one character. If I want to fight and pilot at the same time, I simply cannot do that with anything other than the extra small size of weaponry, because the guns and the piloting take place from 2 separate chairs, and as far as I'm aware, it's against the game's terms of service to use multi-boxing on 2 separate accounts for PvP. It's perfectly valid and fine within the rules for everything else, but not for PvP. So in any event, you're going to find yourself, if you, like me, get sucked soul first into this game, you're going to find that you'll want at least 2 accounts. On the other hand, if you don't want to do that, the skill tree that we're going to follow, when we'll go through it in full when we arrive on our plot of land that we're going to start getting established on. What we're going to focus on is becoming reasonably bad at mining and reasonably proficient at piloting. The reason being, you're going to want to mine ores from other celestial bodies than the ones on which you start the game. And in order to do that, you need to fly from one planet to another planet, mine, and bring loads of heavy ore back. And so we're going to spec into mining, and we're going to spec into piloting. Now, large organizations that are able to hyper-focus onto specific tasks for each member are able to consume less raw resources to produce more product, from which they are able to easily craft parts for ships or buildings or whatever. So they are at an advantage in producing weaponry, warp drives, engines, armor, everything, radar. However, nothing stops us from taking the hit in saying that we are going to, as a solo player, be inefficient, or as a player within a smaller organization, be less efficient in producing parts for our own use, but at the same time we are going to be self-sufficient. It simply means we have to do more work to get the same amount out. And so you can perhaps say hyper-focus into making one thing. Like, say, a territory scanner is what I hyper-focused into with my 2 accounts. And I was able to produce those at a competitive rate and sell them, and then with that money buy warp drives or whatever else I wanted. But what we're going to follow, the path today that we're going to follow, is going to take us from a place of having nothing to a place of being able to produce any item we want in the game for ourselves with our own effort. We are not going to rely on other accounts, other people, an organization, though I would heartily recommend you join one. We are going to be completely self-sufficient in everything we farm and everything that we produce. But we don't want to, however low
Now
our
proceed to the
FPS,
fourth dispenser.
however bad our performance is here, we don't want to skip the Institute tutorials. Now over here we're going to pick up a blueprint. It doesn't matter because we're not going to use that
proceed
blueprint.
to the last
But
dispenser.
finally, this
You are
dispenser
done.
here gives
One
us our
last
ship
thing,
parts
to
and our
learn more about
resurrection node.
anything,
So
you
we
can
now
also
have the
use the
parts we need
codex
for a
or
basic
point at
ship,
anything in the 3D
and
world
we
or in the
have this
interface
blueprint
and
here
press
that
the
we don't
helper
need,
key. You also have
and
institutes down at the
a very
plaza
small
where you will
amount
find
of
detailed tutorials about almost any available
thank you,
activity.
Ophelia.
Finally, I'll try to guide you further through various hints that will automatically trigger when needed.
Yes, it would be fantastic if those
Last piece
hints
of
didn't
advice,
automatically
there is a
trigger,
free
but
shuttle to
sadly they
reach
do.
the sanctuary moon.
So, there's the exit. To run through is Control plus Z. This is a damaged ship. So as you can see, there are so many things here for the game to load. These are all player constructs. Every blue ship symbol you see on the minimap on the top right is a player construct. And here is the market. So we're going to destroy these extra small atmospheric engines. We don't need them. We're going to use some of the 200,000 quanta that we start the game with to buy atmospheric engines. Let's go with 4 smalls, although they will be obsolete in no time at all, and mediums would therefore be more useful. They're still slightly faster in performance here at this stage of the game, using an extra small dynamic core from which we'll be building our ship. So we've bought our 4 engines. We're going to take them into our inventory. We need just a little bit more nitron fuel to run our engines with, and we're going to sort by where we are at. The 17, what's the lowest? 7.3 is the lowest, so we buy, say, 60 fuel, make it 100, and then finally we want a stabilizer wing, extra small. As you can see, the hints window keeps coming up and getting in the way, and that's it. We are now set. From the market, we don't need anything else from here. Let's head over and start our first tutorial. The tutorials are here in the middle. Now a lot of them aren't in the game yet, so you can see all the military ones are blocked off, but this piloting one here is available. So we take the elevator up by going up to it and pressing space, and then we press F on this pad, and as you can see, we get 10,000 quanta. Not all that much, but still a good amount to have. But critically, we get free 5,000 free talent points. So let's start the tutorial.
Welcome to the hover piloting tutorial.
Right. So,
approach the provided speeder.
Did it give us fuel? No, let's pick that up. It gave us fuel. Now we're going to just ignore the guide completely. So we go up to this dispenser, press F to pick up the contents that we were going to be given, double click on the fuel in our inventory, pull out our fueling tool, which by default is number 6. Remember, the tools are just items in your inventory, and you can drag and drop them wherever you want. So we can take this tool off and then drag another one up on top of it. We're going to look at the fuel tank, and we're going to left click. Another thing to bear in mind in this game is the Alt key. The Alt key is the reverse button. So if left click fuels, Alt plus left click drains. We're going to fill up the fuel tank completely. Now, we can't just skip through the tutorial steps willy-nilly, because there are some doors and gates that are scripted to the functioning of the tutorial, and if we skip past the script that would open the door for us, we get stuck forever and we have to skip out of the tutorial and start again from scratch. But for now, we are going to get into the hover seat here.
Sadly, the tank is empty,
and we're
but
going
there
to
is a
hit
dispenser
shift
with fuel in
and
it.
we're going to press
Now,
page down.
Look at hover. Now that you have the
when we
basics down,
press
head towards the
page down,
waypoint.
it skips to the next tutorial step.
Turn left towards the new. Slow down and go towards the structure for a new
If we
challenge.
press insert,
You
we
can
go
brake and go in
into
reverse with the backwards key.
third person view. And we're gonna go to this point here. If you can look at the right here, we're traveling at 220-ish kilometers per hour. This is the same kind of speeder as you get from the blueprint. The ship we build is going to be based off of a design given by a YouTuber.
In order to go higher,
I
hold the
forgot his
jump
name, but
key
he's with the
and press
Zenith
forward.
Gaming Company.
Take your time and reach the hover vehicles.
That
When in a
will
hover
go
vehicle,
anywhere
you have
from
to be
12 to
mindful of
1300
large
kilometers per
obstacles.
hour, and it'll
You
fly
will not
rather
be
than
able
be
to
a
hover
vehicle,
over most of them.
which makes it much more
Build up
effective
speed
for
for
our
a jump
purposes.
ahead. Go full speed past this way.
I
Climb that
will
ramp
not
as
go
fast
full
as you
speed.
can.
We'll make
Go to the
trick jumps
exit
with you.
building.
Right. So this is the step we don't want to skip past because it opens the door for us.
Congratulations, this completes your basic ground piloting tutorial. Press the
Now
interact key while looking at the teleporter to exit
from
the
the pad
tutorial.
here. If we had skipped past this step, the store would have stayed shut and we couldn't have reached this exit pad. So there, we've done our first tutorial. So here is some random foliage that should not be here, I think. And here are the next 4 tutorials. Now these elevators have a tendency to bug. Remember, this game is in beta. It's in very early stages of phase 1 of its beta. This is where they are trying to remove as many bugs as they can. We are paying for the ability to play the game in its current state, but its current state obviously is going to have a lot of glitches, and when those glitches are found, they can't always be fixed straight away because they need to be investigated, broken in full properly, so that the developers can understand why and how something has broken in order to fix it and prevent it from breaking again properly. So this game does currently require a lot of patience. I started playing this about two and a bit weeks ago when it first came out of NDA. I thought to myself, all the good pieces of land were going to be taken up, so I might as well just make an account quickly, grab some land so I'd have something, and then the next 2 weeks of my life disappeared and I don't know where they've gone. It is incredibly fun, so bear with the lag and the issues, because it is worthwhile in my view at least, and hopefully in yours when you try the game out of it. Now there is a magic cure-all. When the problem is on the server side, I would suggest going to the Dual Universe Discord, into the announcement channel, to see if there's some server issue going on. And also, if you go to the general chat channel, try to avoid or ignore as much of the toxicity as you can there, if there is any. There generally isn't. It's a very good community, but obviously, when servers have issues, people get frustrated and take that out in general chat from time to time. So if you go to general chat, you'll see other people saying, oh, this happened to me, is it happening to anyone else? Or if there is an official announcement, you'll see that there's a server issue. If the problem is a client-side issue, a magic cure-all is to close out of the game, delete your cache file, and load back into the game. Everything around you that's loaded is in your cache, and if something around you, some element like this elevator, doesn't work, let's see if it does. It does work this time for me. It has failed in the past. Then you simply close out the game, delete your cache, reload the game, which then reloads the items and repopulates the cache for you.
Welcome to the surface harvesting tutorial.
Yes.
Rocks contain... You can exit the tutorial by reaching the marked teleporter and interacting with it.
So you have to exit
Welcome
out the
to
tutorial,
the basic mining tutorial.
and come back in a number
I
of
am
times.
Ophelia.
Again, I think we can just spam shift plus page down.
Good luck using your newfound mining
And
skills.
out we
And
go.
don't forget that...
Right, there's another 10,000 quanta and 5,000 free skill points. I have had it happen that this elevator here takes me back to that mining tutorial. So let's just double check where we are. We are in the right place. Okay, crafting 1. Let's start this tutorial.
Welcome to the basic building tutorial, where you'll learn how to create and build structures with voxels and elements.
Skip through the steps in front of the doors.
Feel free to practice for
and
a
then go through them as
when
they
you're
open.
done, disable build
Now,
mode.
as a part of the tutorial, you get taught how to delete voxels. Everything in the game is a voxel or an element. And so these voxels here, we need to remove. The way you do that is by looking at the voxel, press B, take your voxel tool out, which by default is number 2. Hold down the Alt key, which, as I said, is the reverse key. Oops. Do it from this side then. Drag across and down, and then left click, and the voxels are gone. We exit build mode
to the next platform,
and then
we can
start hitting Shift and F down.
Looks like you've got the hang of it now.
In front of each
Let's
door.
move on. In addition to cubes, now you eat now great. Okay, please now this fine tetrahedrons are among the trickiest voxel shapes to place, but provide a fantastic slanted edge that the triangle vox. You've moved the select. You can when you
again, if this is your first time playing through,
rotation,
do go
cutting,
through these
copying,
if you can.
predefined
if you
objects you can place
if you
to do now.
have good
Now that you
playable frame rates.
Hold, remember that so far you've been working
They
with an
are
existing
very good,
constructs. Next, we'll go over how to create a construct from scratch. To accomplish this, you will require
I
a
think
core
this
unit.
is the exit building
Now,
here.
open your inventory when you are ready to proceed to the next step.
Yes.
You now have an understanding of some of the build tools.
There we go. So we now have our next 5,000 free skill points and another 10,000 quanta. I believe there's just 2 more to go after this. So that was construction 1. Let's go to construction 2. Quickly load in. Yep.
To begin the tutorial,
put our
please
ship
follow
together.
the green line on the floor in front of you to the workshop area.
I think this is one where we can just skip through.
Press the
in full.
Locate the element.
Just shift page down.
When you are ready to leave the tutorial,
yes.
Use the exit teleporter located at the waypoint on your HUD.
Our exit teleporter pad was the same as our incoming teleporter pad, so we could have just stayed at the teleporter pad and spammed shift plus page down. So our plan is to just grab land on the Sanctuary Moon, repack our ship, and head back to Alioth. We'll see how that works out. Yes, we have 30,000 free skill points, so that means there's 1 more to go, and then we can get out of this low FPS area. And there it is, Industry Institute there, and it's just the ones outside of the door that we click on. Last tutorial. And then
welcome to the industry tutorial. First, let's show you how your nanocrafter works.
Shift page down in front of the
First,
doors.
We need to add the basic material needed by the recipe. Click this on the this now click under so click now honeycomb to click now aim at the highlighted assembly and enter build mode by put all. Good job.
There we
this
go.
concludes your introduction to industry and crafting.
And that's
you
our
can
final
leave now by pressing the interact key on the highlighted teleporter in the next room.
Money and points. And so I am now going to take the shuttle over to the Sanctuary Moon. The shuttle is somewhere around here, I think. Or it might have been back the way we just came. No, I think this is it. Yes, it's right here. So we look at the shuttle button here, press it, and away we go. Thank you for watching part 1 of this series. The next episode is going to cover talents and setting ourselves up for long-term success by picking an appropriate list of opening talents to start the game with. Feel free, if you like the content, to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon on YouTube to be notified of when I put content out here next. Or if you want to watch this stuff recorded live, I'm streaming on Twitch 3 or 4 days a week, so come hang out. Until the next time, thank you for watching. Goodbye.